It's a really interesting trade happening here. That Facebook's up about 8% in extended hours, despite that up to $5 billion fine that they're facing from the FTC. This relates to the Cambridge Analytica scandal that we saw last year. The FTC opened this inquiry into Facebook about whether Facebook violated this consent agreement that it had reached with that U.S. regulator in 2011. And what we're seeing is that Facebook is saying we have to start factoring these costs into our operations. Now, the reason that shares are trading higher this morning is because people are buying into essentially Mark Zuckerberg's vision that they can offset these costs with continued growth. If you look at the user numbers for Facebook, 8% growth year on year in daily active users and monthly active users. And that's the key metric that advertisers look at, and it's the key metric that many of the other users look at when they're trying to decide how far this can go.
It's not as strong as the growth that you saw in Twitter and Snapchat. They grew their daily active users by 11%, albeit on a smaller base. So the growth is not quite keeping pace now, is it, when you look at the huge Facebook user base?
That's true, and we are seeing in the U.S. a little bit of topping out of growth. The growth is mainly coming from the international markets. Ironically, 4 million new users here in Europe, and that's kind of back to the levels that we saw in the initial drop when the privacy regulations came into place here in Europe. But a lot of what the bullish sentiment about the user figures is coming from is just the pure size of these numbers. 2.7 billion monthly active users across Facebook, WhatsApp, and Instagram. That's about 10 to 20 times as many as so many other social media platforms, and that's where the kind of...
We are obsessed by DAUs and MAUs and all that as well. And look, they're very good numbers. How are they making their money, though? Of course, 1.89 cents per share $1.89 would have thrashed forecasts if it hadn't been for that charge, which was around about 76 cents a share, I think, the charge, or something like that as well. What are they actually making their money from, apart from, is it advertising?
It's almost entirely advertising. That's right. And on the call, we heard a lot of focus on how there's growth in advertising, particularly coming from the stories section of Facebook's business, and that's mainly on Instagram. Sheryl Sandberg talking about how there's now 3 million advertisers using stories, and that's across all 3 of those platforms.
Can I come back to the fines? Because the 3 to 5 billion is the assumption now that Facebook is working on around an FTC fine. That's US regulators. What about others? And some that have been listed, Vietnam has been accusing Facebook of breaching cybersecurity laws. You've got problems in Germany, and there are problems in many other countries as well. So should there be a higher estimate that investors are factoring in?
I mean, this is a record fine from the FTC. The last fine that we saw from the FTC was $22.5 million for Google, and that was about 5 years, that was in 2012. GDPR, those fines could be 4% of global annual revenues. That could be in this billion-dollar range. And I think that that's something that investors need to be looking at. They might say, if the U.S. is taking this that seriously, perhaps European regulators might up their game on Facebook here, too.
I'm going to ask one quick question. Sorry, the gallery had a conversation with me, said I can't ask a question on Microsoft, but I'm going to. That's what I see. They give us the toys, and then they can't get rid of us. Satya Nadella is doing a brilliant job. Unambiguously. But we're always looking for cracks and changes in terms. Cloud is brilliant over, it's going really, really well for them. But is there a crack here? Azure Cloud Products Division jumped 73% from the 76% in the first 2 quarters of last year. But overall, I noticed that the cloud operations looking a lot slower than they were previously as well. Is there something we need to worry about there?
We are completely looking at the 2 other players in this cloud market, and that's Google and that's Amazon, which is... This is a place that Microsoft has dominated. Azure is a product that's that enterprise cloud product. It was #1 there, and it has been, for a while. But there are increasingly signs that competition is heating up, and there's a lot of margins to be made in this business, and all of those tech companies want a little slice of it.
Hi, I'm Joanna Bersecci, and thank you for watching. You can check out more of our videos by clicking on the boxes on the screen. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more from CNBC International. Thank you for watching.